when we look at what has been unfolding over the past few weeks, when there was that lull in the bloodletting, we saw two totally different scenarios when releasing the captives, the hostages from Israeli prisons, and the captives, the hostages from Hamas. Were they all staged? We will never know. But what we do know is that Israeli freed captives were expressing how they were treated on the whole, and the majority thus far have spoken about good treatment by their captors. We're now hearing other stories, and these stories are unsurprising because this is part of the media machine, and this is not to deny the legitimacy of those who really experience what they say they were experiencing. But what is clear is that war is deception. War has propaganda of lies. And we've seen one side doing this very, very effectively and are known to do this even when there isn't conflict. But that doesn't discard the fact that it's coming from both sides. But when listening to those who have been released, what we hear of the conditions of the young men, young women being released from Israeli prisons, it makes for uncomfortable viewing, uncomfortable reading, uncomfortable listening. But let's consider one thing now. The later reports that are coming out from Hamas captives of rape and abuse and everything. The legitimacy or validity of that are being established. But the legitimacy and the validity of the same or similar accounts coming from Palestinians is not being given the attention that it should be. Why not? How is it that all of a sudden these later accounts are being pushed to the fore on one side, and the same or similar accounts from the other side are not? They're being given scant attention. Why? It's similar to what is crossing our screens every day of dead babies, injured children, mutilated bodies of Palestinians. So we know those numbers are there. That's not just propaganda from Hamas alone. It's too much. We've got reporters on the ground there in Israel and in Palestine, verifying what we're seeing of the destruction of Palestinian bodies and the killing and the murdering, and that's clear. Yet we don't see that to the same or similar proportion with the accounts from the Israelis, whose numbers have decreased from 1,200 to 1,400, sorry, to 1,200 to 1,000. And they're verifying and they're adjusting the figures as they guide along, as their media machine is saying, their propaganda machine is saying. And we're not denying this, but evidence is important. Not concocted evidence like we saw in Ash-Shifa hospital. Actual, empirical, authentic evidence, like we're seeing in the plight of the Palestinians. But again, I will reiterate, that's not to deny there haven't been serious casualties following 7th October in Israel. We're not denying that. But we need to have accuracy in the language, in the vernacular. And media are being very biased in how they're reporting the plight of one entity and the other entity. And this is a disservice and an injustice in and of themselves.